Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Hello and welcome to this episode. This is part 2 of episode 10 of the Rabbits Podcast breakdown. Yeah, we're starting to get into this thing. We're starting to go in pretty deep. So yeah. So I need to be up front with you. I've got me some little donuts, some baby donut things, and a glass of milk, and I'm going to be enjoying that while we do this podcast. Just kind of in a snacky mood, so that's, I'm just letting you know that you're going to see me eating and drinking, so it is what it is. So let's get into it.
So, I went back to that hotel and spoke with Loris, full-time bellman and part-time photographer. I found him setting up a photo shoot in one of the hotel's rooms. Hi, are you Loris?
Yeah. Hey, you were looking for some photos?
No, not exactly.
I'm sorry, I thought you were something.
I'm the one who called and asked to meet about getting some photos, and I'd like to pay you for your time, but I'd just like to ask you a couple questions.
You a cop?
No, I'm not the police. I'm looking for my missing friend. Her name is Yumiko.
I remember her. Yeah, she was really pretty.
Right, she is
She
really
had
pretty.
a whole stack of books and papers. She seemed a lot more like a scientist than an escort.
Did she do anything? Can you remember anything else? Do you remember what the books are about?
Yeah, actually, I do. That's easy. They were mostly picture books of North American lighthouses.
Lighthouses.
Yeah, I remember that because my crazy uncle lived in a lighthouse for years in Iceland.
Yeah, so we're getting more of the pieces of the puzzle falling into place, getting fit into this puzzle.
Can you think of anything else?
She was on the phone for a little bit. I don't...
Do you remember what she...
No.
What was she talking about? Or?
No, I didn't hear anything she said. She kind of moved to the other side of the room, and I couldn't really make out anything she was saying specifically. I don't know. I heard some sciencey stuff, technical stuff.
Okay.
And that's kind of interesting. And it's kind of cool that, as somebody who's a shutterbug myself, that this person has the respect not to be intrusive into someone else's business.
Anything else? Anything at all?
No, I'm afraid that's it. She was only here for about 10 minutes.
Really? That's it?
Yeah. She looked out the window and freaked out.
Wait, what do you mean?
I mean, I'd taken about 5 pictures. She was over by the curtains for the last one. She looked outside and saw something. After that, she packed up her books and ran out the door. She didn't even put on her shoes.
Wait, this window over here?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is... It's hard to I've said this in other videos. At this point, especially in this episode, it's hard to commentary without spoiling things. So my commentary is going to be really vague, really, because I don't want to spoil anything for anybody that's a first-time listener.
I looked out the window right after she left, but there was nothing there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I looked out that window as well, and there was something that I could see.
And the photographer, not playing the game, obviously didn't connect the dots.
Hey everyone, my name is Terry Miles, and as most of you probably know, I'm the founder of the
in episode the self-promotion commercial part. Let's see if I can skip through it. I got it turned down, so I'm hearing it in my headphones and trying to talk through it. So let's hit the fast forward and see what we get. .com. Yeah, this is a. Sometimes they sneak up on you, those commercials.
It was a billboard for a brand new singer's debut album. There was a graphic that matched the title of the album on the right side of the billboard. Floating above the graphic was the shadow from a satellite dish on a nearby building. It looked like a dark full moon. A dark full moon floating above a pyramid. The singer's debut album was called Pyramid. The graphic and the shadow together. It was the moonrise.
And that's just interesting. When we get into doing the 3-episode The Path, I have a copy or a set of the cards that are associated with it. They're a novelty. They're a fun thing. The art on it's pretty awesome, and I may share them with you. And when we get to that 3-episode mini season, I guess you'd call it, but it all ties everything. Season 1, The Path, and Season 2 all kind of tie in each other. Their threads are interwoven.
I looked down at the street and saw Jones waiting beside my car. I wanted to yell down to get his attention, but the hotel's windows had been painted shut. It was at this point that I saw the figures in gray. 2 of them. They were walking slowly toward Jones, one on either side of the street. I scrambled for my phone and tried to dial, but there was no signal. I asked Loris for his phone, but he didn't have a signal either. He said it was strange, that there was normally no problem with the cell reception in that area.
Now, we still haven't figured out if these people in gray are actually wardens, or if they're benign to what's going on, if they're watchers, or what their role is, or maybe are they a force trying to corrupt the game? We don't know.
I grabbed my things and ran out the door. It must have felt like Yumiko all over again for him. A young woman looking out the window and leaving in a panic.
Though we don't know how long that billboard and that supposedly coincidental clue had been there. But what we do know is whatever Yumiko saw triggered her just like it triggered Carly.
It felt like the elevator took forever to arrive. There's no way Jones was going to be able to get away from the wardens if he didn't see them.
Or what we think.
Finally, the elevator arrived and I got in. My stomach was fluttering, my hands shaking. The elevator slowly moving past the halfway point. I sprinted out of the elevator doors, ran through the lobby, and out into the street. Jones was there, looking at something on his phone. He looked up as I burst through the doors of the hotel and started running toward him.
What? The fact that Carly has developed this bond and this uneasy trust of Jones, and the fact that she was concerned about him when she saw the wardens. So there's no real, if they are wardens, there's no reason for them to have attacked or somehow taken Jones out of the picture. And I mean, if they were, we don't know. And it's never fully explained. It's one of those things that they leave kind of ambiguous. And it's for the listener of the podcast to come to their own conclusion.
There were no signs of the wardens anywhere. I pointed up at the billboard of the pyramid, but the shadow from the satellite dish didn't hit in the same place from down here. There was no moonrise, no wardens, and no moonrise. My heart was still racing.
See, now what makes me wonder, because the shadow cast is going to depend on the angle of the moon, with the moon reflecting the sun's light back to Earth. That if has the moon moved far enough, if out of the proper alignment, if they were to go back up and look at it, would it still be there?
Jones had an idea while I was up in that room talking to the photographer. He found out that the ferry company in British Columbia took reservations, and he suggested that I reach out to Yumiko's brother and see if he could find out if she put a ferry reservation on her credit card. I called Adam, but there was nothing on her credit card after the day she disappeared. I thought about Alan Scarpio, in a coma, in the hospital. Was there any chance his being in the hospital wasn't somehow connected to rabbits?
Did the wardens get him, maybe? I mean, they have the ability to phase in and phase out from the last episode, so or the last part. This episode, last part that I did, I should say.
I understood that there was no way a regular person could just walk into a hospital and visit a billionaire in a coma. No way, that is, unless you happen to be on the approved visitors list. I called the hospital and asked about the visiting procedure. They told me it was family and approved visitors only. I gave them my name and a brief message to pass on to any of Scarpio's family. That's when the nurse told me that the name Carly Parker was already on the approved visitors list.
That kind of is interesting. Like, somehow Scorpio knew if something happened to him, he got injured or something, that he knew that she would seek him out.
I went to the hospital immediately. Jones insisted on coming with me. He didn't think either of us should be alone.
Which is, at this point, a pretty damn good call.
As much as I was still concerned about who to trust, I was happy to have the company. Intensive care was on the second floor. A nurse led us through the east wing toward a private section, where we passed through a quick security checkpoint. Something I found surprising, Jones was on the approved visitor list as well. He was listed as simply Mr. Jones. The nurse said it's at the end of the hall.
Well, I like the fact that they, to this point, I mean, even, we're in the last, we're in the first half of the last episode, and we still don't know Jones's first name.
209. This is it. I knocked, and we entered the room. Scarpio was in bed, hooked up to a bunch of machines via a series of wires and tubes. These machines were brand new, cutting edge. I wouldn't have been surprised to see the price tags on everything.
You know, as many of my friends over the years that I've visited in the hospital, family members and what have you, that whole comment about not being surprised that the price tags are on there, I've often got that same feeling.
There were 2 people sleeping on a small sofa next to the bed. They popped up as we entered. It was the magician and his assistant, or whatever she was, the aviator goggle young woman from the arcade, Scarlett. What are you doing here?
We came as soon as we heard.
You know Scarpio.
Of course. We're very close.
The fact that, this guy that owns an arcade and a billionaire are good friends, I think that's something that could only happen in America, to be honest with you.
Jones?
Hey. How is he?
Not good.
Why are we on the visitors list?
Because we need you.
For what?
Did you tell her nothing?
I told her everything. Mostly.
We need you to win the game.
I like how he threw that, well, I told her everything. Well, mostly in there. I love that.
How?
Well, that part is unclear.
Best guess?
You need to find your missing friend.
Does Scarpio have any contact with Yumiko?
I don't know. I don't think so. She didn't mention him.
Wait, you spoke to Yumiko?
Of course.
When?
When she came to ask me about the game.
When was that?
I'm not sure about the date, but sometime before you 2 visited the arcade.
What did she want?
She was looking for information on Hazel, mainly.
You didn't tell her about me?
It's not my place to reveal those who wish to remain hidden.
And yeah, to me that honor, to sit back and go, look, I'm not going to blab business that's not mine to blab. That honor of not revealing people within the game to other people, I think that's kind of cool.
Jones.
Is there anything else you can tell us about what she was looking into at the time?
There was something about a film producer and his new film.
What film?
I can't remember, or maybe she didn't tell me.
If you notice, if you paid attention real closely, you can probably scroll the or rewind or move the cursor thing back and re-listen to it. But when they start talking about a producer and a new film, you hear like an old school projector fire up in the background. That is just kind of stuff like that is what really endears me to this particular all the podcasts that the Public Radio Alliance and Minnow Beats Well does. Is they put those little cues in there for your brain to pick up on.
Really? That's it?
Sorry.
Jones and I went back to my place and looked up every single film that was opening or had opened around the time of Yumiko's disappearance. Nothing stood out. There was a very famous film festival taking place in Europe around that time. I pulled up the list of films. Nothing stood out there either, until I did an image search and saw the poster for a Dutch film called To Fall. The poster featured a It's this thing of
putting the puzzle pieces together. They're falling in. They're falling in fairly rapidly, but they're still not easy. But it seems that they're at a point as they put one piece together, they get 3 more pieces or 4 more pieces to fit in around it.
Familiar image. It was Dog Lover in Hell. The word toeval in Dutch means coincidence. Jones was looking into flights to Europe when I found something else. It was an article from an online entertainment news outlet. The famously reclusive producer of that film was having an exclusive party at his house, somewhere in Canada, to celebrate them winning an award at the festival. It was, allegedly, a masquerade party. Apparently something about masks lined up with the theme of the film. The director and stars would be in attendance.
And where did they have this party at? We'll find out.
The only clue to the location of the reclusive producer's house was that guests would be arriving by private boat. The only worthwhile lead we had was this film producer. We needed to find this guy soon.
Or at least find out where the
We were
party's
unable
at.
to track down anyone who knew or was willing to reveal the location of the reclusive producer's house. We had no idea if he lived in Toronto, Montreal, or Vancouver. That is, until I heard back from Nick. He told me that a friend of his was still looking into the recording of Yumiko's that I found via that 6878 phone number, but that he did find something on a silver Saab 900. Apparently there was a silver Saab 900 on a ferry to someplace called Galiano Island the day that Yumiko was spotted at the Canadian border crossing. The time matched perfectly. If she'd driven directly from the border to the ferry terminal, she would have made it just in time to catch that ferry to Galiano Island.
And we'll go ahead and call this here good, just because it's getting ready to get deep and I don't want to have an exorbitantly long video. Happy holidays. Hope the winter isn't being too harsh on you. So, until next time, peace.
Hey, it's 10 p.m.